Askin. Congressman, thank you for joining us this morning as you saw the IDF announcing the rescue of 4 Israeli hostages from inside of Gaza, with the youngest being 21 years old just a week ago. President Biden announced a ceasefire and hostage proposal that he says Israel agreed to. Let's take a quick listen to what President Biden told ABC News earlier this week.
Is Benjamin Netanyahu listening to you?
I think he's listening to me. They were going to go into Rafah full bore, invade all of Rafah, go into the city, take it out, move with full force. They haven't done that. And what they've done is they've agreed to a significant agreement that if, in fact, Hamas accepts it, and look, it's being backed by Egypt, being backed by the Saudis, being backed by almost the whole Arab world. We'll see. This is a very difficult time.
Obviously, a huge relief to have those hostages back home. But, Congressman, do you see any evidence that Prime Minister Netanyahu is actually going to be responding at all to the pressure from the United States and other countries?
Well, first of all, it is great news that the 4 hostages are back. Noa Argamani, of course, became world famous with the video footage of her being abducted in the first place. And so that's a great breakthrough. But of course, there are many hostages who have not been liberated yet. And Gaza remains a living hell for civilians. So we are all rallying behind President Biden's push for a ceasefire and to try to get Hamas to agree to it. And our understanding is that this was a proposal that was put on the table by Israel, by the Netanyahu government. And so we're doing everything in our power to stay focused on getting all of the parties to agree to it, which would occasion the return of all the hostages, a complete cessation of military hostilities, at least for a 6-week period, and the beginning of negotiations to move us beyond, these miserable cycles of terror and war.
Netanyahu will address a joint meeting of Congress on July 24th. There are several Democrats in the House and the U.S. Senate that have indicated that they plan to boycott the speech over their objections to his handling of the war in Gaza. Will you be in attendance?
But I'm just getting the invitation now. It was originally set for earlier in the summer, and now we've just heard about July 24th. And, my main focus has been backing the president in the push for a ceasefire, which I hope would happen before July 24th. I think all of us want to see that happen in the month of June. And, then I'm willing to look at all of the pros and cons of the different positions that are being advanced by people. But I haven't really had the chance to think it through yet.
Congressman, I wanted to switch gears a little bit because I read something this morning that really I thought was so serendipitous that you and I were going to have the chance to speak. The co-chair of the Federalist Society, Stephen Calabrese, who's also a constitutional law professor, something you know very well. Calabrese teaches at Northwestern Law School. He writes today, quote, "Some Republicans, including me, therefore acquiesced in Joe Biden taking office because we thought we had to do that to preserve a facade of democracy absent concrete proof of voting fraud. But deep down in our guts, we thought that Joe Biden's campaign had probably won with dirty tricks, although that could not be proved in a court of law." He goes further, writing that he will always feel that Biden may well have been an illegitimate president. Congressman, the reason why I wanted to bring that to your attention is this is a lawyer teaching lawyers to be that the 2020 election was stolen. And I feel like it's a symptom of the bigger problem that's going on with the GOP these days.
You're totally right. That was a completely irresponsible statement that Mr. Calabrese made. I was startled and astonished when I saw it because he was somebody who was actually helping to rebut some of the most extreme claims that Donald Trump was making during the impeachment trial. But it looks like, they are circling the wagons around Donald Trump in the wake of his criminal conviction. I don't know what it is about a unanimous jury verdict based on the standard of proof of beyond a reasonable doubt that a law professor has a problem with. And I don't know why Mr. Calabrese can't understand that 60 federal and state courts reviewed every one of Donald Trump's claims of electoral fraud or corruption and repudiated and rejected all of them. So then he says, well, I somehow feel it. I get a spider sense in my bones, right? It can't be proven in court criminally. It can't be proven in court civilly. And yet the co-founder of the Federalist Society, in order, I suppose, to try to ingratiate himself with Donald Trump, decides that he's going to say he just feels there was something wrong with it. That's the kind of feeling that is getting us into terrible trouble in the country. It's an attack on the rule of law. And coming from a law professor, it's just baffling to me.
Yeah, but that quest to push disinformation and misinformation doesn't happen just in our law schools. It's happening in Congress, and it leaves the heavy lifting to people like you and other Democrats in Congress to stopgap the lies. Is there anything that can be done, though, to stop what happened, for example, this week with Dr. Fauci in Congress? Is there anything to do to make sure that doesn't happen in the halls of Congress?
Well, you know, the party of democracy and the party of freedom and the party of truth has just got to be tough. And I think Dr. Fauci modeled that toughness this week when, you know, and he's not a partisan actor, but he's just a scientist. And he just said that this is nonsense and this is preposterous. I mean, I had, you know, Republican colleagues, and there are right-wing commentators who are out there saying that Dr. Fauci created the COVID-19 virus in order to make money off of it, and they were charging him with profiting somehow off of COVID-19, and he refuted that definitively and shut them down. But like I told Dr. Fauci at the hearing, they were treating him like a convicted felon. And then I had to correct myself. I said, no, actually, they treat convicted felons much better than they treat doctors who have devoted their entire lives to saving people's lives. And, you know, if you look at Dr. Fauci's record, not just on COVID-19, but HIV, AIDS, the Zika virus, a whole bunch of other diseases. He has saved hundreds of thousands of lives through his work as a doctor, a scientist, and a medical leader. And yet all they could do was beat him up. And then meantime, they're running around the country trying to excuse an adjudicated sexual assailant, an adjudicated fraudster, and a convicted felon who was just found guilty by a jury of 12 peers chosen by both sides in the trial of having paid $130,000 in hush money to his porn star mistress and then cooking the books to engage in more financial fraud. And that's the person who's defining their party.
Well, the hypocrisy is strong on the other side. Congressman Jamie Raskin, thank you so much for getting us started. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for being here.